Hi guys! So it's been an absolute age since I've made a video and I've really just been largely absent online in general. If you follow me more generally, you'll have noticed also that I have been like completely absent pretty much on Facebook and Instagram and my blog and everything. Everything has kind of ground to a halt for me in the last couple of months, kind of over the course of the last couple of months since Christmas. And I think this is always the way it happens, isn't it? It's like I thought that after I came back after Christmas that I would have a little bit more space and time in my life to reintegrate Heart Story back into my life again, and in fact the opposite ended up happening. My course load was a little bit lighter this semester, but I think while the university work was a little bit more manageable, this semester for me has been about really starting to dig my heels into Edinburgh and really starting to find my feet here and to find my life here and really settle myself in. I've spent huge amounts of time socializing, which is really important to me, and sort of getting myself back into the kind of social life that I really, really want to have here. I've been making some very, very close friends, and actually in the last couple of weeks I went through a period of sort of essay writing while being very ill at the same time, which was one of the reasons why I went so quiet. So I had a couple of very intense weeks of kind of finishing essays, submitting them, and doing all of that while having the flu. And then pretty much dived straight from submitting my essays into a brand new relationship. So needless to say, I kind of thought originally that once I handed my essays in, I was like, well, by mid-April at the latest, I will be back online, I'll be making videos, I'll be finishing the new website design, I'll be doing all of that stuff. And instead, as probably all of you will know, getting into a new relationship eats up huge amounts of time. And, I don't regret a second of that. It's, I am always willing, with both friendships and romantic relationships, I'm always willing to put a lot of things on the back burner in order to enjoy that experience and give myself fully to that experience, because it is it's a special experience. It's something that doesn't come along very often. This experience of getting to know somebody or getting into a relationship that really feels quite serious and quite that has a lot of potential, as opposed to just kind of casual dating or anything like that. So yeah, everything has just been very intense this semester, and that is, I think, why I just haven't felt, it's like technically I could have made the time to be here online, to be making videos, but I think this semester it's been more, rather than not having the actual time, it's been more about not having the space in my emotional and mental self, if you know what I mean, for actually being able to reflect enough to kind of give back in any serious way spiritually. My spiritual practice ground to a halt for a couple of weeks. I'll talk about that once I've kind of got through the basic sort of updatey parts of this video. I will have a little bit of a chat about my spiritual practice and what's been going on with that. Yeah, it's just that everything in my real life has been so intense, and like I say, it's been a sort of like life building kind of experience for me in the last kind of semester, the last three months. So yeah, it's socially, everything has been intense. And also, of course, I'm gearing up towards planning to do a PhD, to start a PhD in September. So there's been sort of scholarship applications, waiting to hear back from scholarships, starting to think about the logistics of how I'm going to afford to stay here, especially if I don't get a scholarship or if I don't get a full scholarship. There's all of that just takes up a lot of room in your head and in your heart, so I'm sure you all understand, when I say, like, yeah, this is all that's been taking up all of my head space. And then in terms of the new relationship that I've just gotten into, it's my first relationship with a girl, so that's been it's absolutely wonderful. I'm really, really happy and excited about it. But obviously there's that extra layer of sort of overwhelm, I suppose. It's always overwhelming when you're meeting a new person in a wonderful way, but it is still quite overwhelming and quite a lot to sort of process. But there is that kind of added layer for me with processing that because of it being my first relationship with another woman. So yeah, it's been a lot. there's been a lot going on. But at the same time, it's not that I've completely not wanted to be here. It's not that I haven't felt the urge at all ever to talk to you guys, and I really, really do miss the community. I miss being involved with it. It just feels almost like that's just a separate life to what I'm doing right now. And I still haven't got to the point in my life, to the point in this year maybe, and I'm hoping that it will happen during this calendar year, where I can start to integrate the two again, where I can start to really bring my life as it is now to you guys, if you know what I mean, to start to share my experiences from where I'm at now. And maybe it is really a case that I was trying to rush it too much, and actually I need to get to a point where I know where I'm at, and I know what my life is, what my spiritual practice is, what it is that I want to bring to the table for you guys. I think all of that needs to be solidified before I can actually do that. So while I haven't been making videos and I haven't been posting on Facebook or Instagram or anything like that, I have actually been working away on the website design, and I've been sort of making plans for that and figuring out how I want that to look and feel, because it's important to me. For some reason it's become important to me that before I really throw myself back into blogging and making videos and things, that the platform that I'm blogging in, like my website, that it kind of reflects what it is I want to do, how I want the whole thing to feel, and so on. And that's been a gradual process of figuring that out, and also just the time-consuming process of changing the website design and working on that, because I'm not exactly a trained web designer, so it takes me, the coding takes me a little bit of time. So I think that kind of gives you a rough idea of where I'm at and why I haven't been around. And I do apologise, and I know I keep apologising for this, and I think it's just the way that, the last 6 months have just been an absolute whirlwind. But I do want to keep reiterating that I really appreciate all of you guys, your comments on my videos, particularly the comments on my newer videos. I do read all of them. When I get comments on older videos, I often don't get a chance to read them, for quite a while. But when I do get new comments on new videos, that I've been posting in the last couple of months, I do read them, and I've been really, really, really moved by a lot of them. I've been really excited by a lot of them, and I really want to find the time to reply to all of them, but we'll see. Hopefully that will happen at some point. But if I never get back to your comment, know, like on a recent video, know that it has been read and appreciated, and that I really do miss you guys. I really do miss the interaction. And I've been really missing watching people's videos, because I haven't really been watching YouTube videos either. It's just for me, maybe I just needed a bit of a step back from the community as a whole, and it just kind of, I've been watching the odd video here and there, but not in such an intense way that I used to. And maybe that's just gonna be how it will be for me for now, that I won't be as involved as I used to be, or as I would like to be, just from lack of time or whatever. But yeah, that's how things stand. So yeah, I think that's probably covered everything that needs to be said, really, in terms of just general, hello, I'm alive and I'm sorry, and just giving you an idea of where my life is at, where my head is at, and stuff like that. So spiritually, I mentioned that my practice ground to a halt. I was really only barely managing to, I think I did quite well actually in managing to maintain a sort of 10-minute daily meditation practice in the morning for most of the, I think in the second semester as well. Or did I not get back to that in the second semester? Certainly all through the first semester, I was maintaining a daily meditation practice, sort of a 10-minute practice in the morning. And for, I'm quite proud about that, because that first semester was extremely intense, but I needed that, I needed to be able to make that time for myself in the morning. This semester, again, I found that I got out of the swing of it. My habits have been constantly changing. I've been finding it difficult to get into a routine, and that's and again, I kind of said to myself, right, well, as soon as I've handed in all my essays, for the rest of the summer now, I'm just going to be working on my dissertation, on a 15,000 word dissertation, which is due mid-August. So I just have kind of one big task now ahead of me. And I was really planning on, once I finish the essays, take a bit of a break, and then start like really kind of getting into a routine, getting into a flow of work, and getting back into a fixed routine of when I'm going to sit at my altar, when I'm going to run, when I'm going to do yoga. But then of course I've been getting into a new relationship, and when you're getting into a new relationship, all your routines and schedules just go completely out the window. So unfortunately that hasn't quite happened yet, but I have actually gotten back into a meditation practice the last maybe week, because and this seems to be something that I need to do periodically, is that I've changed up my altar spaces again. And I think this isn't so much a practical thing. And this kind of, the fact that I felt the need to do this and the desire to do this, and that it actually helped me get back into a meditation practice, a daily meditation practice, kind of made me realize that the way that we kind of all talk about the progression of our practice, and you could call it like, well, it gets called kind of seekership in academia. But this kind of attitude that a lot of us in this community have of constantly changing and evolving our practice, and it often can feel a bit like we're chasing, maybe like we're chasing a bit of a red herring or something. I'm kind of mixing metaphors there, but if you know what I mean, that we have this concept that once we find the perfect practice, then we will stick with that one practice forever, and that we're just that we keep changing our practice or changing our altars or changing all of these things because we're not quite there yet. And that is a concept that I had been relinquishing, that I have been, for quite a long time. I've been seeing it more as that actually a self-made spiritual practice tends to be just quite reflective of where you're at the moment. That's so personal, so that every time you change or evolve yourself, that it needs to kind of change and evolve with you in order to best suit where you're at and how you're feeling at that time in your life. And I think that's very much kind of how it works. And it's not that I wasn't meditating because there was something wrong with my altar. It's more that changing up my altar, giving it that kind of spring clean, and changing up the space in which it is and what it looks like and how it looks and everything, just allowed me to get back, kind of tap into where I'm at right now and what it is that I need right now in a spiritual practice, in a daily practice, and kind of gives you that incentive as well, I think, to get back into it, because this is how it works really, and I think this is how it will be probably with anybody with a daily practice, a daily spiritual practice. You will fail at it, you will stop, it will drop to one side, life will get in the way. And that's totally normal. Nobody can possibly, I don't think anybody can really be so disciplined as to have a daily practice that they continue with rigidly all the time. And I think that's natural and normal and necessary. And then maybe those periods during which you kind of aren't really practicing spiritually, those are times when a little bit of a shift is maybe happening. Something's changing in your life, something's changing in your emotional sphere, just what's going on with you. And it's time, in order for you to get back into it, you need to maybe do something a little bit different to reflect that change. So that's kind of, I think, what's happened for me, is that once I was ready to get back into a spiritual practice, I needed to change my physical space and to change my habits. So what I've ended up doing is splitting my altar again. So I now have a Morrigan altar, which is kind of it's kind of like a more elaborate general altar, which I will use for more elaborate rituals. I will use for Sabbath rituals. But then I've now moved a smaller altar into my bedroom. And this has kind of been in line as well with the changing light and the changing season, that once it started to get brighter, because my apartment is west facing, once it started to get brighter here in the afternoon, I started to get sun in the bedroom and the living room as well in the afternoons. I started to really like the idea of spending time in my bedroom doing spiritual practice rather than out in the living room. And while I don't get sun in there in the mornings, I've been really, really enjoying, and the altar in my bedroom space it's similar again to what I had set up in my parents' house, actually, if you remember that. And if I remember to, I'll link the video below, or a video below, where I had like an altar space, a kind of more formal, elaborate altar space out in my sacred space in the garden. But then in my bedroom I had a simpler space which had my Buddha statue and crystals and tarot decks and stuff, and that would be where I would do my morning routine. So actually, to be honest, I've actually just returned to that practice, but I haven't quite managed to make the shift completely. So I've just been, even if I only have 5 minutes in the morning, I will sit down at that altar. I've really been enjoying opening the window to get some fresh air into the room. I open the window in the morning to get some fresh air into the room through the house. and sitting down, closing the door, then sitting down at the altar. I have all my tarot decks now out in that space, drawing a card and just meditating, even if it's just 5 minutes of just sitting in that altar space, just to bring myself back to center, I suppose. I've been really enjoying that. I would like to get back to a devotional practice to the Morrigan then, to kind of complement that in the evenings. So far that hasn't happened at all in the week that I've been back into this practice, but you know, I'm confident that it will. And I know that I will definitely use that kind of Morrigan, more general altar, like I say, for my Sabbath rituals. So once Bealtaine comes around, I will definitely be using that altar. But that's okay, you know, it's just right now that's not what I need. It's not where I'm at, and it's not a priority to me. And I think I've gotten to a point now where I don't beat myself up for not having certain spiritual practices. I don't beat myself up about it. I allow myself to make other priorities, and that's what's been happening with Heart Story as well. Is that I realized that if I kept, not that I was forcing myself, but if I started to force myself to create content and to keep things running when I didn't feel like it, that would just come through in the content, and that wouldn't be helpful to you guys. It wouldn't be of service to anybody, basically. So I think there's a lot to be said in any sort of creative endeavor or spiritual endeavor. There's a lot to be said for allowing yourself to take that break, for not beating yourself up for not doing a certain thing. There's a lot to be said as well for just throwing yourself back into it and getting your bum on the seat. And, you know, like say with the creative process, there's a lot to be said for just sitting down and making yourself write every day. But at the same time, you know, it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be elaborate. And if you can't make yourself sit down and write that novel every day, well then maybe you can just sit down and write something else every day. Maybe you can just sit down and write in your diary every day, or just write nonsense into a Word document. And I think that's definitely the same in my spiritual practice, that I'm kind of realizing, you know what, I really don't need to beat myself up if I'm not doing elaborate rituals, or any rituals actually, at the full and dark moon anymore. It's just not where I'm at. And as long as I'm doing enough to kind of keep myself somewhat in the habit of bringing myself back to that spiritual place, which, you know, even the 5-minute meditations in the morning is enough to do that, then I'm happy. But yeah, I think doing that bare minimum of the 5 minutes though has felt really, really good. And this is the same, like I say, with the creative practice. There is that kind of maybe happy balance, that happy medium between allowing yourself to step back from something and not beating yourself up for doing things perfectly, or doing the big elaborate thing that you should be doing, and just completely not doing anything, because there is a sort of creative muscle, I think, with whatever mode of creativity it is that you most enjoy. It is a muscle. They are muscles, and if you get out of the habit of it, you won't feel as inspired to go and do it, if you know what I mean. Like it is kind of a habitual kind of thing. If you are in the habit of doing something every day, say writing or painting or whatever, it's more likely that the muse will strike you. And I think I see spirituality as being very much the same. That spirituality, it is a muscle that we have to exercise. And especially for somebody like me, where my worldview tends towards the atheistic, if I'm not exercising or stretching that spiritual muscle, it's very easy for me to stop feeling and stop having those kind of more spiritual or special moments, as I was discussing in a one of the last videos I made, about if everything is sacred, can anything be special? I was kind of talking about that concept of specialness, and it is all too easy if I stop exercising that spiritual muscle, if I stop engaging in the spiritual community online, or talking to other people in my physical life about spirituality, or not religion, because I can talk about religion academically till the cows come home, but it's not actually going to stretch my spiritual muscle, because it's not tapping me into the experiential aspect of that. And in fact, talking about religion from a more analytical kind of social science perspective can it actually sort of dampen the spiritual experience in yourself, because then you're kind of looking at it from a purely analytical perspective rather than from an experiential one. Looking at it from the outside in rather than from the inside out. So I will say that, you know, allowing myself to be where I am with the spiritual practice, to be where I am with just everything in my life, allowing myself to not do certain things at certain times and to not feel like I'm letting myself down with that has been important. But yeah, but that 5 minute, I feel like I'm kind of taking my own advice that I probably repeatedly posited to you in the Paving Your Own Path series, that, you know, even 5 minutes a day, will work wonders. And if you are the kind of person who feels that need for a spiritual aspect in your life, and the academic part of my brain kind of wants to start analysing that word spiritual, what does that actually mean, etc., etc. But I think for all of us in this community who have that self-made spiritual practice, that we seek, that we have that particular feeling or experience that we are looking for, that we are constantly going after and chasing, and that we have to continually bring ourselves back to again and again. I think we all kind of know what we mean by that, and it might be different for each individual, but we know what it is. We have this feeling, or maybe a particular experience, but we have this notion of what it is that we are looking to experience, that we are looking to hold on to through this practice. It's something meaningful, something that has brought meaning to our lives, something that enriches our lives, something that we maybe have had to fight quite hard for, to grasp onto, or to keep in our lives. And I think it's important to exercise that muscle and keep that ticking over. So I'm glad to see myself now that after a couple of months, maybe a month or two, of absolutely no spiritual practice, that I have come back around rather quickly to doing that again, and to really feeling its absence. You know, I really started to feel its absence. And it's funny how even my beliefs and my experiences of the world and how I feel emotionally on a day-to-day basis, like my emotions will be more heightened. My emotional responses to experiences in my life are more heightened when I'm exercising that spiritual muscle. And like spirituality and creativity are quite tied in together for me too. But that might be a topic for a whole other video. But I won't make any promises, because I'm aware that I've kind of said a few times I'll make a video on this, I'll make a video on that, and then I disappear for 2 months. But know that I have intentions. I do have intentions to come back to the channel and be more active here, and to be more active on well, I was going to say Heart Story, but actually it's going to be changing. As I said, it's going to be changing to Anya Orga relatively soon. Again, you know, soon is relative. I do have intentions to do all of this. I do have intentions to be back in the community and to be sharing with you again. It's something that brings me a lot of joy. It's something that's important to me, and I absolutely plan on making space in my life for it. But for now, this is kind of just it's just a bit of an interim kind of, have something to keep you guys ticking over, and know, just to let you all know that I'm planning on coming back and making content, rather than, I don't feel like this was a very well, you know, it wasn't a particularly well thought out piece of content or anything, but I just wanted to sit down and say hello, really, and just share that with you about my own kind of spiritual experience right now, my thoughts on sort of the exercising of the spiritual muscle and how important that is, and how important that's been for me recently, and just to give you that news of my life, just that yeah, I'm in a new relationship with a girl, and I am very busy in university. I've handed all my essays in. I'm in dissertation territory now. I've been rejected for a couple of scholarships, but I've got one more that I'm waiting to hear back from. So everything is chaos. Everything is chaos, but in a really good way. In a really good way, and I have great hopes that over the next couple of weeks, that things might start to kind of come together a little bit more. Anyway, yeah, I'll leave it there, because otherwise I'm just going to keep rambling incoherently, and I won't make any promises as to when I'll talk to you again. But know that I miss you. I miss talking here. And I very much hope that in the next couple of weeks or months that I will be starting to be a little bit more active on here again. And I really hope that you're all well, and take care. And if I'm not talking to you, I won't be talking to you again before it, in fact. But have a very happy Bealtaine, if that's what you're celebrating, or a happy Samhain if you're in the southern hemisphere. And hopefully I'll be talking to you all again soon.